Okay, guys, just to review what we were working on today. Um, Strangles and chokes. Not a regularly addressed part of guided chaos for good reasons that we'll get to momentarily. But in general, I think any good experienced martial artist should probably know something about them, right? So just to very briefly run through it, right? So any sort of choke technically is anything that cuts off or occludes the windpipe, right? And kind of the way to do it in kind of the classic, combative fashion, right? Sneaking in, getting the right position, elbow back. Even if you don't have a hand clasp yet, getting this rotating stuff up into the windpipe. And if you could get the hand position, boom, basically crushing it. Again, what do you expect if you're putting on a airway choke slowly and the guy doesn't know to tap? Probably a ton of panic, right? Full adrenaline, going crazy. That's why generally the way this was taught was not as a slow application, but imagine this was his neck, right? This kind of thing, right? Immediately, boom, and then crush the windpipe entirely, right? If in World War II, the Ranger drop, I think it was called, right? From here, they were supposed to kick the legs back out and just fall flat on the ground while having this position causing a neck separation. I don't know anyone who actually did it, but allegedly it was done multiple times with success. Okay, so that's choking. Oh, and this kind of positioning, right? Once I'm here, this whole idea of getting to this position, if I'm doing it properly, I should never get anywhere close to that position, right? Because I'm actually using this arm to lever the wrist right here into the throat, okay? And again, the way to maximally affect the throat, using this part of the wrist to kind of roll up and in, okay? Not too far up, like up here, and not too far down, but kind of feel where you can roll up and in to really crush that as soon as possible. So that's a choke technically. By contrast, a strangle, right, is where instead of crushing the throat, I want to cut off the arteries on each side so that the brain lacks oxygen, right? So basically I want to make sure the chin is aligned with the elbow, because I do not want to affect the windpipe at all, but I want to have this positioning. And then, just one way to do it, I could just be here and just start hanging him there. And the general experience there, instead of the panic and crush, it's just the gradual relaxing and going to sleep. Of course, if he's actually fighting you, he might not be that cooperative, right? But that's the idea. He can go to sleep. Most people will wake up if you put them in recovery position. Small subset of people, problems with their arteries or whatever, may not wake up so easily. So this is always dangerous to do. Don't choke each other out. And obviously with the with this kind of boom choke, like crushing the windpipe, if you do successfully crush it, boom, physiologically, this is now, the airway is now cut off and swelling or collapsed. How long can you hit a heavy bag without breathing? All right, because technically all you've done is cut off the breathing. Okay, so don't expect either of these to have any effect instantly. Oh, and I showed with the strangle this way, and obviously if I can get it to here, doing it that way, right? But especially with the strangle, actually, Jess made the very good analogy. You want to fit the guy like a glove. A lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to get into this position and squeeze. I'm squeezing hard. What do you feel, Yoel? Nothing, right? The key to this is to relax, fill in all the gaps, get good position. This is a lot easier if you're on the ground and controlling a person, and you have a long time to figure it out. And then you get to the position, and I'm not actually squeezing, I'm actually just expanding the body and relaxing, right? A lot of people would say to make this a fist so you can't grab your fingers, that sort of thing. All right, so those are some of the basics of choking and strangling and how to do it effectively. And you can practice that. John talked about how he did use the strangle or the sleeper hold, multiple times on the job, but he also added that it was most effective when you had one buddy cop holding the guy's right arm, one buddy cop holding the guy's left arm, another guy controlling the guy's legs, and John was free to then just do this without, for example, the guy fighting back in such a way. I believe one of John's colleagues had the experience of a female in booking, and basically she had her, she had her hands cuffed and started resisting, threw something, knocked out another cop. He tried to get behind her and put her in a sleeper hold, and as he was getting this position, she picked up a pencil from the desk, jabbed it straight backwards, went through his hand part way, right in front of his eye, right? So if you imagine that scenario, he tries to, right? And then, John's buddy let go and boom, 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 knocked her out with elbows after that. So be aware. So this kind of brings us to one of the prime deficiencies in using chokes or strangles for self-defense: time and commitment, right? Any choke or strangle, even the very quick, throat crush choke, and it basically mandates that you stay very committed to a very specific position for at least a certain amount of time, right? Even with the quick strangle, right? If I'm even a little off position and I try to do it, notice, this is uncomfortable, but it's not going to stop Yoel because I'm not quite centered on his windpipe. Now I'm centered on his windpipe, this will probably work. But again, the difference of like an inch makes a big difference. Whereas the stuff we like to focus on, boom, maybe I chop him to the neck. Guess what? If he ducks a little and I chop him in the head, it's going to do something, right? It's not the difference between very effective versus ineffective, right? And again, this only requires the commitment of a split second. Another thing to be aware of: how do we deal with this type of thing? So first of all, the idea that someone's going to get behind you and apply a choke standing up, what was he free to do before that? I must have been unaware that he was there, and he could have hit me, he could have shot me, he could have stabbed me. My awareness has already failed. So let's be realistic about this. How did this happen in the first place? If I am aware that he's about to choke me or something, whoa, right? I have the ability to then, do something and cut it off. Let's say that I was surprised for some reason. He starts to choke me without actually hitting me first, right? Basic fright reaction. It's a good basic way to start, right? Just disrupts everything. You catch your balance, feel what you can do from there. But as a general thing, and one thing that we practiced a bunch, was anything he's trying to do, right? As he tries to cinch this down, I just feel where the pressure is. Go ahead, do it quickly, Yoel. I just feel where the pressure is and get my balance and continue to attack. Whatever kind of thing he's doing, whatever you all right, Yoel? Sorry. I just go. In other words, slowly, Yoel, I feel the pressure against my body this way, so that's when I'm going to go. I'm not going to resist it. I'm going to move with it and do what I can do. One thing that's very important, I don't want to get my body out of alignment, right? So there's one thing that they might do. They might try to pull you back real hard. I need to get my hips back under my head. Pull me again, Yoel. Right, whoa, I get my hips back under my head. Now I'm able to actually do stuff. One thing that you need to kind of train yourself out of, that a lot of people do, as he starts to put the choke on, if all I do is latch onto his arm and try to fight this, especially if he's big and strong, this isn't going to go well. Because he could either be hitting me or just keep going strong, right? That won't necessarily do much, right? Ever tried to do that against Michael Watson? You end up doing chin-ups on his arm, right? Because he could just stand there and lift you, okay? So if you get involved in a wrestling match here, and you get all stiff, the rest of your body now is unable to move with body unity, and Yoel is able to do whatever he needs to me. But if through practice, I can get over that, whoa, and just, latch it on real fast. If you notice, even though he's getting his arm on my neck, instead of just focusing on this, I focus on what? Balance, looseness, sensitivity, body unity, freedom of action, right? I feel where my whole body's going, and I feel what I can do to continue, okay? And that applies to any of this. So, if I know that if I try to choke a guy from here, now, Yoel, just be yourself. If I try to choke a guy from here, even if I'm quick, might be very hard to do. Even if I try, well, wait, I'll try to break his balance first. Go, yo, just be yourself. Whoa, right? Anything I try to do, he's free to do that. That makes me think, do I want to take the time and energy to try to apply a choke like that if he has so many possibilities to counter it? But now, if we take a similar situation, just say, and again, it doesn't mean I'm sneaking up on him. It could be just in the middle of the fight, I get behind him or something like that. Instead of going for this, what if I take the simpler route of just doing that, for example? And again, this isn't a matter of be stiff. This isn't a matter of pulling on his head. No, it's a matter of being relaxed, boom, and just kind of dropping. And obviously I'm using his forehead. In reality, you could go at the level of the eye sockets. Maybe you gouge him, maybe you don't. I don't actually recommend going for the chin here, or the neck because it's very close, he could bite you, and now you also don't have much leverage on the neck, right? Because you have a much shorter lever arm. But if I just go here and just drop suddenly, this is very easy. So now, do I want to choke, or could I maybe have a similar effect right there, just as an example? Okay, likewise, if I'm trying to choke him from here, start turning and moving, right? I'm kind of committed to that. It's hard for me to move. If I'm, oh, sorry, Yoel. If I'm here, Yoel, try to move out of it. I can actually, I think we did this a couple weeks ago, right? Just by feeling where he's going and just doing my step across the line drill, get out of it, go, whoop, right? It's very hard for him. I won't drop him all the way because there's leaves, right? It's very hard for him to get out of this, right? Again, if I were trying to like lock him up, keep moving, well, might be hard for me to keep him under control, but as long as I can have the freedom, go anywhere you will. You notice how I can just feel where he's going and just change it. For training, I'm just doing these little pushes, boom, boom. In reality, just hold it up like somewhere there, right? In reality, these aren't just pushes or boom, right? Boom. Even from here, boom, right? You could see how the effect could be very severe, right? And again, it doesn't have to be like some weird situation where I'm sneaking out. Like we could be doing contact flow, or it could be attacking, boom, right? Maybe something like this happens, boom. Break the throat, he tries to do anything else, whoop. Okay, and maybe from here I just, boom, spike him here. Nice drop strike. Here, you all feel free to fall, right? If he's still going, won't put on video what comes next. You get the idea. And again, like in reality, a lot of choking and strangling attempts happen like on the ground when a guy is trying to get control of you. Same principles actually apply of just maintaining the body unity, moving away from max pressure, continuing to attack. We'll show that when we have the mats. And just other ideas you could use. Again, if just along this theme, if I actually had to, for whatever reason, sneak up on a guy, maybe he's, you know, about to murder a friend of mine or something like that. As we've seen, I probably don't want to like try to jump up and strangle him or do something like that. It might be a good idea, boom, right? If I am lucky enough to be that sneaky, you know, maybe chop him in the brainstem, back of the head or neck, boom, maybe like punch to the kidneys or something at the same time, something like that. If for whatever reason something's going on, maybe I did hit him, he's struggling. I don't want to start wrestling with him, but especially if I'm shorter, you know, and there's other stuff obviously you can do, right? And other things, kicks or whatever. But let's say I'm shorter, be real strong, you will, right? And I want to bring him down. If I try to like pull him down like this, I could probably do pull-ups on him. He's nice and sturdy, right? Same principle though. Instead of pulling or using strength, just using a little drop with no setup, no apparent motion, right? Makes it very, very easy, right? Here, Yoel, I'm gonna try to pull you down. Be strong, right? Okay? And that's without really any effort, just a tiny drop here. Or just with one arm, and then wherever else it goes. And again, it doesn't even have to be from behind. Like, you have face me, Yoel, he's doing stuff with me, whoop, right? Maybe something like that, boom. And now we're again moving in, dropping from here. He tries to get his hips under him, get out of it, whoop, right? Sensitivity, whoop. Just being able to do this. And again, all this stuff that in training is kind of gentle, boom, bang. And instead of into the shoulders, should be into the head or neck, into the eye sockets, dropping, whatever you're gonna do, okay? And so, which brings us back to what? Sensitivity, contact flow. Whatever he does, he's trying to move behind me and do any of this, whoops. He tries to pull me down, keep my hips under me, keep moving, right? If I'm able to get back here, whoop. Feel where his body's going, whoop. Right? Just feeling how the body works. You notice that, just a little knee strike here makes all the difference, okay? And again, not doing things that'll get me all committed, because again, if his buddy comes, I don't want to be wrestling with him or falling down with him, but instead, just the things that are easy. Boop. Oh, another thing about going to the eye level, people tend to flinch away from stuff flying at their eyes, right? So as opposed to getting the hair or the chin or something, just the fact that this is flying at his eyes, assuming he sees it coming, you can never count on that. Boop, that actually might enhance this as well, right? Then using the nose, dropping here, all sorts of stuff you can do. So in summary, good to know how to choke a guy, right? Or strangle him, right? Good skill to have. If for no other reason, you'll understand if someone's trying to do it to you, right? No matter what he's trying to do. Like, ooh, you all right? Sorry. If I just keep moving and I don't get stuck on the choke, which again requires training to get your psychology right, you know, it should be hard for him to do it. But again, reality check. Why didn't he just hit me in the back of the head? Hit me in the back of the head. Ugh. Now it might be easier for him to choke me. It'd be easier for him to do anything, right? But then again, he's going to hit me in the back of the head. Oh, why wasn't I aware that he was there? Right? And now, again, these same ideas of feeling where his body's going, right? Being able to, boom, do stuff to it. Again, similar position, right? Conventional martial artists might want to choke him or neck break from here, but Yoel, just be yourself. Go ahead. No, so if Yoel wants to like choke me from there, again, similar situation. I don't know exactly what the technique would be, but if I do end up in this situation, what do I need to do? I need to get my hips under me, disrupt his balance. Oh, your arm okay?
I'm good.
Right? And from there, okay, you just got to keep moving. If I do this and get obsessed with this, excuse me, good choke, right? That won't work. But if he tries to do something similar again, and I just continue, keep my balance, keep moving, that's doable. But again, similarly, so if I get to, in some situation, maybe I'm fighting here, put your head down, Yoel. This is why, by the way, we don't want to put our heads down, right? If Yoel wants to pull my head down into a choke, I let the whole body go. Okay, put my head into choke position, right? I just keep my hips underneath so that instead of letting my head go where he pulls, my whole body goes where he pulls and everything else goes with it. But if I get him into like, if I end up in this position, instead of locking down for a choke, again, maybe I could just boom, drop going this way, drop going this way, drop going this way. He tries to do anything else, drop going this way, right? Boom, crack. And again, no grappling, just boom, drop hitting. And can't guarantee any necks will break or anything else, but it's probably not comfortable. And again, what's the key? You're maintaining your principles, so you're always free to do something else. You're not committing, you're not locking up, do something else. So this one sometimes comes up, again, maybe drop strike, head goes this way, using the eye sockets, chin goes that way, boom, like that. Again, I don't know exactly what would happen, but it wouldn't be comfortable. Here, obviously, neck is exposed, bam, bam, bam. All right, just into here. With the hand like this, if you don't want to do a lot of damage, with the bony parts, either that side or that side, depending on the angle, if you do want to do a lot of damage. Again, the same mechanisms that are allowing you to strangle them, the carotid arteries and vagus nerves and carotid sinus on each side here, okay? If you just keep hitting into them from wherever, it might have an effect. But you want to always maintain your freedom and sensitivity to get there. And remember, final thought that we're about to train, contact flow. Don't get into the mindset that contact flow is about doing stuff with arms, okay? Your contact and contact flow should be so light that you still feel what's going on, because if Yoel's actually attacking me, I don't want to deal with his arms. I want to immediately, boom, penetrate to do stuff that can end it, right? Either by continuing to hit or depending on what's going on, right? Maybe I end up in this position that we've been working on, right? Right, just being aware of stuff like this, boom, where I can drop and get that, boom, drop and get that, and do stuff to hopefully end it a little faster. You can't count on just more and more strikes in the midst of chaos to necessarily stop him. You can't count on anything to necessarily stop him, even that stuff. But at least if you're physiologically breaking down his ability to do anything else, that might be useful. So again, don't get so arm grindy, pushy, centric in contact flow that you forget that the actual idea is to learn how to just kind of either disregard his arms or use them as targets in order to get to the body. And any sort of like he's grabbing me or whatever, right? Right? Screw the arms. I'm gonna attack and penetrate, or he's like reaching out to boom, right? If I am like doing anything with the arms, it's in such a way, boom, that I'm dropping on them, hopefully rendering them useless, but don't count on it, right? So again, this idea of attack, as opposed to play with arms. right? Which we can sometimes get a little too much into. One way to do that in contact flow, to try to get better feeling, is to imagine that his body's red hot. Okay, so if I'm imagining Yoel's body's red hot, I can't have any prolonged contact with it, right? If I let him touch me like that, that's burning me, right? So I need to move my body to not allow that prolonged contact. The risk in this type of imagery is things tend to get a little faster, right? Because I keep trying to avoid any prolonged contact. You just got to make sure that you try to keep it at the same speed and maybe have that kind of hot feeling so that you can really feel where you can move in with your whole body. Same thing here. I don't want to, this is burning me too, right? So I got to move my body to get that burning thing off of me. All right, so just another image to play with. Any questions? Thank you.